What if the story of human evolution was even more complex than we ever imagined? What if an entirely new species, one that bridges the gap between archaic and modern humans, has just been discovered? Recent fossil evidence suggests exactly that. We now introduce a new human species, Homo affinis erectus. The find, tentatively classified as Homo affinis erectus, has provided a fresh perspective on the transition between early hominin species and offers new clues to the origins of our lineage. This find is significant because we still don't know what fossil represents the last common ancestor or what continent they lived on. This discovery not only sheds light on human evolution, but also raises fascinating questions about our ancestral past, including the debated morphology of Homo antecessor and the enigmatic last common ancestor, sometimes referred to as Ancestor X. The remains of Homo affinis erectus were uncovered in a European cave site, revealing a partial fragment of the face. The fossils have been dated to approximately 1.4 million years ago, placing them at a critical period in human evolution. Think about that. 1.4 million years ago. The time is known as the Calabrian stage, a subdivision of the Pleistocene epoch of the geologic timescale, defined as 1.8 million to 774,000 years ago, a period of over 1 million years. The Spanish archaeological team nicknamed the fossil Pink, a reference to the rock band Pink Floyd and their album The Dark Side of the Moon. What makes this hominin unique is the distinct blend of Homo erectus traits and more advanced features, suggesting that it may represent an intermediary form. If confirmed, Homo affinis erectus could bridge a major gap in our understanding of early human dispersal and adaptation. Because they have so few bones, the researchers have decided not to make a firm claim about the species. They have assigned the bones to Homo affinis erectus, meaning they have an affinity to Homo erectus. It may also belong to an entirely different species, Homo affinis subspecies erectus, rather than Homo erectus affinis. So it is a Homo erectus-like thing, but we cannot be sure. In the same layer, the team found 3 stone artifacts, a cobbled tool made of quartz, and flakes of quartz and chert. They are of the Oldowan tool complex, which are not very complex. Indeed, they are basically just rocks that have been broken, so they have a sharp edge. This new species has reignited debate over the identity of Homo antecessor, a hominin known primarily from fossils found in Atapuerca, Spain. The classification of Homo antecessor has long been controversial due to its mix of archaic and derived traits. The face of Homo antecessor has often been described as surprisingly modern, leading some researchers to propose that it could be a direct ancestor of modern humans. The facial structure presents a forward-projecting mid-face that bears a strong resemblance to Homo antecessor, yet differs in the orientation of its cheekbones. The teeth and jaw of other bones from the site exhibit a combination of primitive and advanced traits, with large molars similar to Homo erectus, but with some reduction in overall dental robustness. The limb bones suggest that Homo antecessor was built for endurance running, reinforcing the idea that mobility was crucial for survival. The discovery of Homo affinis erectus raises new questions about whether these two species are closely related or if they evolved independently. However, Homo antecessor is probably a better guide to what the ancestor looked like than Homo erectus. It must be something with a face more like Homo sapiens and Homo antecessor. In other words, the modern-looking face of Homo antecessor is actually ancient, and our species has retained it, whereas Neanderthals are the ones whose faces changed more during their evolution. The facial morphology of Homo affinis erectus and Homo antecessor shares several similarities. Both species exhibit a forward-jutting mid-face, a trait that some scientists believe is an early sign of Neanderthal development. Unlike Homo erectus, which has flatter cheekbones, Homo affinis erectus appears to have a zygomatic bone placement more in line with Homo antecessor. Additionally, endocranial reconstructions suggest that Homo antecessor may have had a greater potential for brain expansion compared to its Homo erectus predecessors. These shared traits have prompted a re-evaluation of whether Homo antecessor should be considered a direct ancestor of modern humans, or if it represents a separate evolutionary experiment that was ultimately absorbed or outcompeted by more successful hominin lineages. However, Homo affinis erectus also has similarities with Asian Homo erectus specimens such as Sangiran 17 from Java, including broad zygomatics, a thick supraorbital torus, a long and sloping forehead, a sagittal keel, and a broad nasal aperture. Does this hint at long-distance genetic exchanges between African, Asian, and European hominins? Sangiran 17, better known as Java man, is dated to 1.3 million years ago, the same time frame as this new Iberian hominin. One of the most intriguing implications of the Homo affinis erectus find is its possible connection to ancestor X, a hypothetical hominin lineage suggested by genetic studies. The concept of ancestor X arises from the observation that an unknown species contributed genetic material to Homo sapiens, Neanderthals, and Denisovans. This mysterious ancestor has remained elusive in the fossil record, but Homo affinis erectus may provide new insights into its identity. Some genetic analyses indicate a deep split in human ancestry that does not align neatly with known fossil specimens. If Homo affinis erectus fits within this timeline, it could be a strong candidate for ancestor X. Its European location suggests the possibility of interbreeding between early Homo erectus populations migrating from Africa, which may have contributed to a genetically distinct lineage. Additionally, the presence of cultural artifacts at the site where Homo affinis erectus was found points to a level of behavioral sophistication that could have influenced later hominin species. The discovery of Homo affinis erectus raises profound questions about the complexity of human evolution. Did multiple hominin lineages interbreed more frequently than previously assumed? Was Homo antecessor a regional variant of Homo affinis erectus? Or was it an independent species that evolved along a separate trajectory? Could Homo affinis erectus be the elusive ancestor X, responsible for the genetic signatures found in Neanderthals and Denisovans? These questions challenge long-standing assumptions and highlight the need for further research. The unearthing of Homo affinis erectus represents a major breakthrough in our understanding of human origins. With its intriguing combination of Homo erectus and more advanced hominin traits, this species challenges traditional classifications and forces us to reconsider the complex web of ancestry that led to modern humans. If DNA can be extracted from the fossils, future genetic analysis may provide definitive answers about where Homo affinis erectus fits in the human evolutionary tree. Regardless of its final classification, this discovery underscores the ever-changing nature of paleoanthropology and serves as a reminder that the story of human evolution is far from complete. In evolutionary biology, understanding the distinction between basal and derived traits is crucial for reconstructing phylogenetic relationships and tracing the evolutionary history of species, including humans. Basal traits are characteristics inherited from a common ancestor that have remained relatively unchanged over time. In humans, an example of a basal trait is a large brow ridge and elongated skull. Derived traits are those that have evolved more recently and differ from the ancestral condition. In humans, a rounded brain case and smaller brow ridge are examples. Another example is the development of a large brain relative to body size, which is a significant departure from the ancestral state. The brain cavity of Homo antecessor is estimated to hold 16,000 grains of water, whence its cubical contents may be estimated to have been approximately 1,000 cubic centimeters. Estimated in dried millet seed, the contents equaled 31 ounces in British apothecaries' weight, but no whole brain case has been found, so these are rough guesstimates. Nonetheless, this size falls within the lower range of variation for modern human females. As stated earlier, Homo antecessor is likely a more accurate representation of the last common ancestor than Homo erectus. The last common ancestor must have had a face similar to Homo sapiens and Homo antecessor. Therefore, the modern-looking face of Homo antecessor is very ancient, and our species has preserved this face, whereas the faces of Neanderthals have changed more during their evolution. Ponder on that for a moment. The physical features of Homo antecessor have left anthropologists puzzling over its relationships with other early humans. It has big teeth, as do more primitive members of our genus such as Homo erectus. But as stated, its face shape is remarkably similar to that of modern humans. Some have argued it could be the last common ancestor of Neanderthals, Denisovans and Homo sapiens. Others argue it is actually a branch of Homo erectus. One of the main points of contention in human evolutionary studies is whether Homo antecessor represents the last common ancestor of Homo sapiens, Neanderthals and Denisovans, or whether it was merely a closely related sister lineage. Traditional models suggested that Homo heidelbergensis was the common ancestor of these species, but recent genetic and fossil evidence challenges this view. Genetic evidence suggests the last common ancestor lived about 800,000 years ago, so African Homo heidelbergensis or Homo rhodesiensis is too recent. We reassess this as a separate line of evolution, but one which probably coexisted with the evolution of Homo sapiens, says Chris Stringer.
Work I've been involved in with Chinese colleagues suggests that actually the lineage may go back even further, the separation may go back even further, towards 1 million years. So if we move the common ancestor back towards 1 million years, we have fossils, for example, like this one from China, from Yunxian, that could be close to the common ancestor.
This shows there were many different hominins stomping around 1 million years ago. Stringer also has stated that we don't know where the last common ancestor lived. It could have been in Asia, it could have been in Africa, or it could have been in Europe, and one possible contender is the 1 million-year-old Yunxian man from China, a close relative of Homo antecessor. In this light, and in recognition of the fossil record of Homo erectus, the findings are consistent with the origin of a branch that arose within a diversifying Asian Homo erectus population which diverged into the westward-going population of Homo antecessor, which came to reside for a short period in southwest Europa, and another population that split later into Homo sapiens and Homo sapiens neanderthalensis. In this scenario, the results are consistent with the paleontologically established presence of Homo erectus in Eurasia and a Eurasian divergence between Homo sapiens and Homo antecessor 1 million years ago. This means that the last common ancestor was living in Eurasia, to put it in simple terms. Nevertheless, the evolutionary relationship between Homo antecessor and Homo sapiens remains one of the most debated topics in paleoanthropology. Another study explores the implications of Homo antecessor's facial morphology and genetics, while addressing the theory that Neanderthals diverged from modern humans around 850,000 years ago, making modern Homo sapiens a derived version of archaic humans. As discussed, recent genetic and morphological evidence suggests that Homo antecessor is closely related to the last common ancestor, yet whether it directly evolved into Homo sapiens remains uncertain. Recent advances in paleoproteomics, the study of ancient proteins, have provided insights into the evolutionary relationships of Homo antecessor. A study analyzing proteins extracted from a Homo antecessor tooth also suggested that it was closely related to the last common ancestor of modern humans, Neanderthals and Denisovans. These hominins lived in Iberia between 1.4 million and 800,000 years ago, during a time that has been linked to a population bottleneck where only some 1,230 individuals survived to pass on their genes to modern humans. So this group of hominins apparently survived that bottleneck as their descendants were living in Iberia after the bottleneck. Nevertheless, researchers could not confirm whether Homo affinis erectus was the actual last common ancestor or a sister lineage that shared a close evolutionary relationship with this ancestor. There are many questions to solve. Was the variation a consequence of several events of first bottlenecking and then hybridization, or both? And what was the scale of such events, wide or local? Thank you for watching, liking, commenting and sharing this video, and please check out our other videos.